Okay, Chair, we're ready to start the meeting.
Thank you, Nicola. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Licensing and Regulatory Committee meeting this morning. We've got a fairly short agenda. Do we have any apologies for absence, Nicola?
Chair, no apologies received.
Oh, sorry, Richard.
That's
right.
Okay.
Declarations of interest as and when. Have you all had sight of the minutes, and are you happy to accept those?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, Chair.
Yes, yes.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you. We'll go straight on then to the item 4 on the agenda, the contract garages review report, and Linda O'Gorman is introducing this. If you would please, Linda.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. The first report today is regarding contract garages for the purposes of Hackney Carriage and private hire vehicles. The recommendation for this report is that the current contract holders actually have their contract extended by a further year, and I'll explain the reasons why behind that as well in the body of the report itself, with a view to actually revising that contract with effect from 1st of April 2022. 3.1 of the report basically gives us the powers to have a contract garage in order for the inspection of Hackney Carriage and private hire vehicles, with a further caveat that the private hire vehicle must not look like a Hackney Carriage as well. So that's in 3.1 of the report. 3.2 of the report, we have a list of approved garages. There's a slight error on here. I'm referring to section 3.1 in Appendix E of the Council's policy. It should actually read section 3.7 and Appendix E, so apologies for that. All right, so there's a slight amendment to 3.2 of this report. With regards to the actual contract, there was a number of garages approaching the authority basically that wanted to be on the approved list, and following legal advice, it was noted that the current contract holders, they did not have an expiry date basically of their contract, so that would prove difficulty if you wanted to amend things, or if you want to improve the service, or in fact have new tenders on there. So with the advice of legal, we was requested to do a 12-month sort of phasing in period of when, giving them notification when their contract would end in a 12-month period. So that was done in the March prior to lockdown, albeit we didn't expect to have what we had a year that we've had this year. So with that in mind, 3.5 gives the reasons why, even though we had sent the letter out advising them that the contract would end on 31st of March to give us enough time to review it, that we would have the problems with COVID-19 and the restrictions throughout the year following that sort of recommendation to the garage contract holders. So in 3.5, it gives the reasons why there's been a number of things where things had to alter, where MOT testing stations were closed, that restrictions were put on sort of drivers and vehicles. So we felt that it's best that we actually delay that in order to get the consultation done properly, to review the garages properly, and to put it on, back a further year, so that their contract that we advised would end on the 31st of March would in fact end on 31st of March 2022, to give us enough time to carry out that function. So that's the purpose of this report today.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Yeah. Have you had a lot of new applications for licensing, Linda?
We've had 3 new garages wanting to come on board, and they've been given the contract with the same end date as those that were existing at the time of the notification when we would review it. So we have had new, because following that advice, we put those on so they wouldn't be left out when we come to actually doing the revised contract.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Do any other members have any questions for Linda? Can't see anything.
Yeah, look at my hand, Chair. But
oh, Tony.
Yeah,
yes,
I can't see my hand. Can you talk? Are you going to talk about the guide specifications at all within this report?
But what
We've got the long
specifications,
list of specification, which is basically a very long, strong MOT types test, aren't they? I'd like to ask 2 questions within that. Can we ask it now or later?
You can ask it now, I think, Linda. You happy with that?
One of the first one is to do with the cracks on windows. It says at least one door on each side of the vehicle, the front windscreen must be checked for cracks at MOT standard. It doesn't say anything about cracks which might have been formally repaired with a proper process, but they are still cracks. Is that included in your thoughts? And the second question was back towards the end about headlights. I've got concerns about some vehicles, particularly these days, where headlights are just not aligned properly. You drive the road and they blind you, and particularly the halogen lights. How secure, how strong do these garages apply these rules, these pass and fails? Because I think they're very important. Thank you.
yeah, if I can sort of answer that. With regards to the testing in the garages itself, they have to be MOT garages, so they have to conduct what they would normally conduct with an MOT sort of inspection, albeit they don't actually get an MOT certificate because Monmouthshire is exempt from that fact.
Right, okay.
What happens is that they do the MOT inspection, but those long lists are actually what's taken from our policy itself. So it's over and above really an MOT inspection what's required in our policy. So with regards to concerns like headlights and cracks on road, obviously they have to be MOT compliant anyway. But we would be looking at how quickly the garages inform us if there's a failure, there's all this elements, which is why we want us to review the actual contracts themselves to make sure that we tie up any loose ends really and get it a more streamlined service, which is what our aim is as well. So all this could be done as part of the consultation process anyway, but rest assured that they would be MOT standard anyway, the vehicles that go through.
But they must also have an MOT in any case, mustn't they?
They don't know because it's MOT. The stations have to be MOT registered.
Right.
They carry out the MOT testing, but what it is, because Monmouthshire are an MOT exempt as part of the sort of procedure for private hire and hackney carriages. What the drivers do, they get a form from the post office which allows them to say they don't hold an MOT because of this very reason, so that if they get stopped by police, it's on their sort of automatic number recognition that they have been tested to MOT standards. It's quite an unusual way for sort of taxi licensing purposes.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that, but thank you. Okay. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Linda. Are there any other questions?
Hi, Chair. I did put my hand up. Just to add.
Sorry, Dave. I can't see it at the moment.
Where's the hand? I can't find a hand.
No,
Yeah, I see the hand in the chat thing, so I put the raise hand. I think Jamie Trearns put his hand up as well, Chair. But mine was just in response to that question about, I think it's about competencies of MOTs, etc. If it's a wider issue in terms of light alignment and other issues, then we do obviously have a trading standards department. So if there were general concerns that, locally you think perhaps a garage is, I don't know, not quite completely competent in terms of undertaking testing, do let us know, and then we can always undertake a test purchase. So that's something we have done in the past. So if there are concerns, particularly with regarding vehicles on the road, in terms of general vehicles, not just taxis and hackney carriages, do let us know, because we do have training standards that can intervene if required. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Brian.
Jamie, I believe you want to come in.
Yeah, I found my hand now.
Yes, please, Chair. It's in relation to Tony's question. If a private hire is stopped and asked for its MOT certificate, even though they're exempt, do they still need to provide the certificate they get from the garage?
No, what happens is they get a form from the post office in Gov UK. They complete it then as proof that they have been tested to MOT standards for that purpose. So because it's all centralised with the police with how MOTs are tested, that record is then held that they have got an MOT standard vehicle, so they wouldn't get any sort of points or anything like that because it's actually been carried out.
So would they need to do that every time they go for an MOT then? Fill in this
Yeah,
form?
they
so
have
it's
to
reviewed?
basically
Okay.
fill in the extra form that is given to them, you know, to make sure that they are sort of, instead of having an MOT certificate as they would normally have, that they would have this exemption certificate instead, because it's been done to MOT standard.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Linda. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? I can't see any hands.
Yes, I've got mine up. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank
I
you.
don't know whether it's relevant to bring it into this particular time, but because so many people haven't been in work and so on, and cars are parked up, have a lot of them been sawn over this last 12 months and, you know?
Not with the taxi trade, to be honest with you, because they've been permitted to continue. So we haven't had any of that at all. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda.
Thank you, Ruth. Anyone else? No, I can't hear anyone, so we'll go to the recommendations. Are you happy that we accept those recommendations, committee?
Yes, Chair.
Chairman. Yes, Chair.
Yes,
you.
Chair.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we'll go on to item 5 now. The proposed changes to taxi and private hire licensing. Linda again.
Yeah, this report actually sort of is to make sort of members aware of the quite large document really that has been issued by the Department of Transport. It is a statutory function in that it's saying that we have to have regard to it. So we haven't got to put it in place immediately. So that's why I've sort of highlighted that fact. But obviously members should be made aware of this rather large document that could have implications with regards to our existing policy, which falls in nicely really with looking at contract garages, which was on the report previously, because anything that we change in the policy itself will have a knock-on effect of what extra sort of testing mechanism has to be done at those garages as well. So that's why it's been brought today really, is to make you aware of the possible changes that's coming afoot. Rest assured, we are working on this rather large document as an all Wales group to have it as uniform as possible, and that's done through the licensing expert panel of Wales, which is all licensing officers really. So it is a few number of changes on there that will have implications. You know, the biggest one being disclosure and barring service checks, which will be done more frequently. That's one of the major changes in there. There's training for members. There's a requirement that whatever policy that we do, that we would have a 5-year extended period of that policy, and you have to sort of review it in that 5-year period, which in all fairness, you know, we tend to sort of review our licensing policy for the taxi trade quite regularly, which we have done in the past. So we've never really gone to that 5 years, you know, so that's something that we are sort of doing anyway, in that we've changed it for the likes of sort of safeguarding. And, you know, when we've introduced sort of tuk-tuks, you know, so we've had to review the policy quite often. But there's quite a number of things in there, you know, that will have implications to the trade, you know, once it does go out to consultation with more regular checks and things like that, you know. So it's to make you aware of it at this stage. And then obviously there'll be future reports with recommendations of changes to the policy that will go through the consultation process as normal.
Thank you, Linda. Have you any idea what length of time they'll be before consultations are finished?
Once we've agreed of a policy sort of change and what people are doing, because throughout sort of Wales, you've got varying degrees of how people have introduced policies. So it's trying to sort of bring it all together, that we should have at least have the basics in our policy, you know, of stuff. So once all that's been approved, then the consultation tends to be, we tend to give about a 3-month period when we do a consultation, you know, and what it did say in this report on reading it, it said that obviously you would consult with the taxi trade as you would normally do, but there's also to make the public aware as well that if they want to comment on any changes of the policy as well. So that's something slightly different. So obviously a 3-month period as normal would be the lead-in, but obviously we got to go through this document and agree a policy before it is presented to you at committee. So it could be a matter of a few months yet, really, before anything's in place.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Again, I can't see any hands, so could you just shout out if you have any questions?
I got my hand up, Chair.
Okay, Tom, sorry, I can't see it.
That's okay, no worry. Linda, it's to do with the DBS. Is there any difference in the recommendations within this report on DBS for a taxi driver as to me, for example, as a school governor?
I can't really comment on school governors, but with taxi drivers, they all have to be enhanced check, which we currently do anyway. With operators, because of the way the law is written, that they have a basic check, which we do. But of course, if they're an operator driver, then they're having the enhanced check anyway. What this recommendation further requests is that all proprietors of vehicle holders have a basic check, which was not something that was written in previously. Obviously, if they're an operator of a private hire vehicle, then they would have had a check done anyway, but not Hackney Carriage proprietors. So it's not just the drivers themselves, it'd be the owners of the vehicles. And there's a further element to this as well with regards to operators, whereas operators would have had a check done with the DBS service anyway, that they are requesting that any operators who employ a person must keep a register of those they employ, and they themselves as employees must do a DBS check, a basic check on those was taking calls basically, for bookings. So there is a couple of changes afoot in there, but obviously we are currently doing enhanced checks. So it depends on, like I said, I can't comment on the other element of work because it's only the taxi and private hire sub stuff I would be dealing with really.
No, I was just wondering the fact that I got a DBS as a school governor. They're only valid for the moment they're given, really. After that, they could change, you could offend. But it seems to me that with the taxis, you're going to have a stronger monitoring of the DBS system within that particular business. That's all.
Yeah. With the current policy, is DBS is done and is every 3 years. But obviously, within the policy, they have to inform us of any changes within the 48-hour period as well. So it's not something that it's forgotten about in that 3-year period. There are sort of mechanisms in place for them to sort of inform us as well.
Thank you, Chair. Lovely.
Thank you, John.
Chair?
Yes, Richard.
Thank you. I noticed in section 5 that they're talking about training and the requirement for making difficult decisions. Do you think that the training that we've had in the past is adequate for us to make these kinds of decisions? First point.
Yeah, I think they're making it sort of more formal because it was never a requirement that members have to have training as such, under tax laws. I think in this document is requesting that this training must be done. We've always carried it out, even though it's not sort of formally requested. The only I can see tweak to that training is whereas before we've done more sort of policy and how you should approach it and referral to and we would give large training on a number of sort of licenses. The only thing I can see in this policy which is slightly different is that we should be giving you scenarios and give you sort of an example and how you would deal with it, rather than it be dry going into a committee and you think, well, this case is thrown at you. So it's sort of giving you sort of examples of types of cases and how you would possibly deal with it in that training, so that's something I've made a note of actually, that when we do future training that we'll incorporate a bit of sort of a role play in effect, to the training itself.
No, that sounds very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda. I don't know whether you want to come back in, Tony. Tony Easton.
No, Chair. Sorry, my hand is still up, is it?
Chair.
Yeah, yes, Tony.
Dave.
Oh, Jamie, sorry.
No, it's Dave.
Down, Jamie.
Dave.
Oh, Dave. Yes, Dave. Sorry.
In the beginning, Linda said this was a lengthy report and in depth. Is there any chance that we can have the full report sent out to us committee members. So, because it's all right having it on the screen, but you can't.
Gone.
Perhaps if I can answer that, obviously I've got the hard copy, like that you can print off, and I can sort of send that separately if you like, for you to print off if that helps, because obviously there's something that we are going to have to refer to anyway when we come to sort of changing our policy itself. So
yeah, I think it would be useful, Linda, if you could arrange for that to be done.
If you like, I can do a quick summary of the main points as well, because that's what I've been doing as I've been going through anyway. So I can give you a quick summary of the changes really and the recommendations that we've been given by the Department of Transport anyway. So even though it's a lengthy document, I can sort of highlight the bits which are the main points on it. So.
Yes, Chair. Yes, that would be excellent, Linda. Like Dave, I just like things handy to look at in a hard copy. My printer isn't wonderful, and so if you could possibly send me a hard copy of the statement that you're talking about now, the shorter version, the executive copy or whatever they call it, I can't remember. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair. I would also like that. Thank you, Linda.
Yes, no problem.
If you could circulate it to all members of the committee, please, Linda.
Okay.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Oh, Dave.
Yeah, Chair, just to add to, I think it's Councillor Eaton's comment really was about, I think it's an issue, the DBS. I mean, clearly it's what members are concerned about, the fit and proper test. So just to add to Linda's response, I'd comment that we're also subject to safeguarding audits. So when WAO come in, Welsh Audit Office, they tend to focus clearly on.
Dave, sorry to interrupt, but I think Councillor Webb may be sharing his screen.
All right. Okay. I'll pause a minute.
Sorry.
No problem, Ben. Yeah, right, okay.
Okay, Dave.
Yeah, so it's just adding in terms of obviously fit and proper, it's just in terms of DBS, that's one way of obviously ensuring for members to have reassurance that people do obviously get to the fit and proper test that we're interested in. And just to add really that to give members assurance that when we do have safeguarding audits by the Audit Office Wales, we are subject to that as well. So last time they came, it does tend to focus on social care, clearly, in terms of child protection, etc. But they always do ask us about where we're at in terms of taxi drivers, etc. So just to assure members, we obviously respond, myself and Linda always respond to those audit requests. And it does talk very much about the points that Councillor Easton's talking about in terms of enhanced DBS checks. What else do we do? And I think the other advantage we have within Monmouthshire is we have a very good relationship with those drivers, and we're next to them. So it's not quite like the London black cab scenario. It's Tesco's outside Frogmore Street, Abergavenny, and Lee Beach. Members will know the local licensing officers. So I think sometimes we think DBS is the way we safeguard and ensure that drivers are safe, but I think it's just one small element of what we do. And similarly in Chepstow, we've got Taylor and Chris Ran. Again, members will know them. So it is about knowing the drivers, knowing the operators. So DBS, just to make that point really, Chair, is just one small element of what we do to ensure that all our drivers are fit and proper. And Chair and the Vice Chair particularly will know, as and when someone hasn't come back with an update, we contact you to get those suspended ASAP. So I think we have got good mechanisms in place just to give those members assurance that members of this committee, there's a number of things that we do on a regular basis to ensure that those drivers are fit and proper. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. I can confirm that we do get regular notification from you of people who are no longer eligible, really. So thank you. Are there any other questions, please?
Yes, Chair.
David.
Because we went off screen, what was the answer to my request about having a copy of the full report?
Yes, Linda is going to send out a summary of the actions that are proposed. I think that's
Right, thank you very much.
Jim. Jim Higginson? Are you?
I am here. I had trouble getting into it, believe it or not,
Yeah.
but I am into it now.
You haven't got a question though, Jim?
I don't have any questions.
No. Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? No, it doesn't look as if there are. Oops, who was that?
I saw that flashing then.
Who was that?
Oh, it's gone off again now.
No.
Seemingly not.
Okay. Okay. If there are no other questions, thank you very much, Linda, for that that explanation. It was very, very good. Really, we've come to the end of the meeting now, and the only other item is to confirm the date of the next meeting, which is on the 23rd of March. So thank you all very much for your attendance, and thank you, officers, for the way you've explained things to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Chair.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chair.
Everybody. Good to
Thank
see you all.